Now, I've always loved working with people, okay? So this business gives me the opportunity to coach and mentor and empower agents.
Yeah.
Teach them to do the same thing that I'm doing so that they can change what's going on in their lives.
Yeah.
And so if I can do it, then I want to teach someone else who can teach someone else. You know, that old saying, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day.
Yeah.
Teach him how to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's what the concept that I work under now. So it's really exciting. Yes, the override checks are nice, but what to me is exciting is when one agent hires another and then teaches them and then uses the system and then so on and so on. It's like, oh my gosh, and now we're at 60 plus. And there's no ending in sight.
Thomas Roach, Director of Marketing with Senior Life Insurance Company. We're actually in Columbia, South Carolina. We're on our Mindset is Everything tour, and we're here with a very, very special guest. This person has one of the best spirits I've ever seen. I don't know if it's vibe or aura. I don't know how you would refer to it, but just one of the best people I know from Augusta, Georgia. Miss Helen. Helen, how are you doing?
I am doing wonderful, Thomas. Thank you for that compliment.
Absolutely.
Yes, vibes. Yeah, that's what it is, vibes.
I wasn't sure what the proper term is.
And spirit too.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you always have such a beautiful smile on your face, and you're always so positive. We were just talking off camera. So you've been with Senior Life for like 5 years now.
Yes, I'll be celebrating my 5th anniversary next month, October.
That is amazing.
2019. I'm so stoked about that.
That is amazing. And we were talking also, a lot of agents, they bounce around a little bit when they're looking for a home as far as a final expense company. And we're fortunate for all the ones that have found us as a home. But you said when we were off camera that you actually don't know any other final expense company.
I sure don't. When Lewis introduced me to Final Expense in January of 2014, I'd never even considered becoming a final expense specialist or a life insurance agent, but he made a very compelling introduction to the industry.
Right.
And fast forward to October 2014, that's when I got my license and got contracted and partnered up with Consolidated Planning and Senior Life Insurance Company.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is the only place I plan to go.
That's it, right
That's
here.
right. This is it. This is it.
How long have you known Lewis?
January 2014,
Oh, wow.
and it was a mutual friend in Augusta, or mutual colleague, should I say, that was an agent with him.
Okay.
That he had asked, did she know anyone in Augusta that had some influence that he can be able to connect with? And she immediately thought of me. She contacted me and said, I've got somebody I want you to meet, and his name is Lewis, and you really need to meet him. And we met at PF Chang's restaurant,
Right.
and he was very compelling, and I think it was more just the idea, because I've been an entrepreneur pretty much most of my life.
Right.
My background is in marketing and broadcasting,
Yeah.
and I've written and published several books, and I've been a talk radio host and a television host, producer, but at that particular time, I was in politics. I was deep in the middle of a political campaign.
Right.
So I was listening to him, and I was like, well, I'm in the middle of this campaign. I want to be mayor of Augusta. And he said, well, Helen, whatever happens, you can still do this business.
Right.
And so in May, it didn't go as planned, but you know what? God had another plan.
Right.
And shortly after the May election that didn't take place for me, I got a call from him, and he said, okay, Helen, you're ready to study for that exam and go ahead and get your license.
Right.
And I said, you know what? Yeah. Now, I took it 3 times, 3 times a charm.
Okay.
And that's what I tell people that get frustrated when they don't pass the exam. I said, look, you know what? All you need to do is pass it 1 time.
Yes.
Now, you may have to take it 3
Right.
times, but,
Right.
for me, there was just a lot of things emotionally going on that just kind of stopped my brain there for a few minutes. But once I passed it, then it was I was just delighted. And then in October, he said, okay, hey, I'm going to Senior Life Insurance Company, and this is where you're going to.
There it is.
And so I got licensed and appointed in October of 2014.
Wow. So what with a lot of people taking the test multiple times, that's difficult, and that can really hurt somebody as far as trying to move forward. Failing once, people view failure a lot of times is a really big thing when it's not necessarily the case.
Right.
How'd you maintain your positivity to wind up taking the test 3 times?
Well, the first time, because I was so close. And now in Georgia, they don't give you your score.
Right.
So you just look at the different categories and realize you're a little short here and not sure. And so I was just too close. And I've never been a quitter.
Right.
I was like, oh, no, this isn't going to beat me. Now, I also took into consideration that I was going through a lot of emotional things from all of the negative that took place in the campaign.
Okay.
So I equated it to that, but at the same time, I realized, okay, I want to do this.
Right.
So I can't sell insurance unless I have a license.
Right.
So I had to take it again. And then when I took it the second time, Thomas, everything that I did good on the first time, I did worse, and so it flipped on me, and I'm like, oh, man.
Right.
So I said, okay, you know what I'm going to do? In Georgia, you have to wait, I think it's almost 30 days before you can take the test again.
Right.
And I got prepared, and I said, okay, I'm going to pass it. And then I did. Now, what's helpful for me with new agents, whether they're on my team or not, when I hear that they haven't passed it, I can relate with them. I can let them know, hey, look, I didn't pass it the first couple of times, but you can do it. And then I just give them some ideas on how to study for it.
Right.
Some people tend to want to just saunter through the material and take their time.
Yeah.
That's not the type of exam. They need to just get in there, cram, get it in your head, schedule that exam, and take it so why it's still fresh in your mind.
Absolutely.
Yes,
So how did you because with the mayor election, you mentioned twice already, it was a bit of an emotional toll on you.
Oh, yes.
So what about that was such a toll, if you don't mind talking about
that? Oh, gosh. When you think about politics, there's a lot of positives to politics, but there's a lot of negatives in terms of the, when you bring dirt out, whether it's true or not, but when there's a spin on it that makes it look like you're the worst person on the planet, that's kind of what happened with me. And it was more financial type of situations that was drudged up by my opponent or somebody that clearly I was a front runner at the time.
Yeah.
And it was so like a few days before the election, all of these different things came out, whether it was tied in with my even a house situation that my former husband and I, so a lot of times you can have things like on your credit report or something negative. They can, what can happen when you're associated with someone and their finances are bad, is going to be connected to you. Now, part of it was mine as well, but the fact of the matter is it was like less than a week before the election that all of these things came to fruition. And so my front page news, on the 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock news, I was headlined. And then, everything, Helen was the best thing since sliced bread prior to that. And then after, people turned on me. It was just ugly. It was horrible. It was horrible. If anybody, I love the idea of running for political office, and a lot of the skills that I learned, like the door knocking, just knocking on a stranger's door. I love that part. Because I never meet a stranger. So doing the T and the lead and all that is very easy for me. But the idea of someone kind of, hitting hitting below the belt.
Right.
I was blindsided.
Right.
And so when you're blindsided and it was so negative and you don't have a chance to, it was like I got sucker punched.
Right.
But I couldn't punch back because there wasn't enough time.
Right.
So there's always two sides to a story.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to tell my side of the story because the election was like 2 or 3 days away. It was awful. Yeah, it was really bad. But after all of that, I look back, Thomas, and I'm a very faith-based type person,
Yes.
and I believe that was just a way for God to let me know, okay, I was getting a little bit too big for my britches in some aspects of, from a pride perspective, I can do this, and God was like on the second or third tier of my priorities, and He was letting me know, no, I'm priority. So I had to get slammed, I had to get bruised pretty bad, but I came back and see now, I don't believe I would be here now doing as well as I am in this industry and having as much fun as I am in this industry if I had won that race. So everything always happens for a reason, but the emotional, think about it. If you have Facebook friends that immediately unfriend you when all that stuff went down. It was like bing, 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 bing.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty devastating. People who that were your friends and you thought. So that was the emotional, and then it took an emotional toll on my family.
Okay.
And when just imagine your parents seeing all of this negative stuff in the news about their daughter.
Right.
It was very hurtful. So that was part of the reason that I said, you know what, this is too much of my family. I'm just going to drop out of the race. So that's what I had to end up doing.
Right.
And it was hard.
Yeah.
It was really hard.
Yeah.
But I look back and I'm thankful of that whole experience, as ugly as it was.
Wow, that is an amazing story.
Yeah.
I didn't know all that.
Oh no.
I've heard the Cliff Notes version, but I haven't heard it in its entirety.
Yeah.
And you just maintain so much positivity from after that, and then like we just mentioned about with taking your test multiple times, and then also you were a professor.
Yes. Now that was fast forward. Okay, I got my license in October of 2014 and became an adjunct instructor that same time, the same month at Virginia College.
Okay.
So that's what I was doing because I was out of work from May through October after the mayor's race because I had a business in prior to that.
Yeah.
But I put the business on hiatus. I had to just get back into myself. I had to spend some time with me and find myself again because it was tough.
Right.
And so over the months, I tried to find work, and then started to study for the exam, and then got the opportunity to teach at Virginia College of Augusta. And that was, doing both of them was just like the best thing. But you know what's so funny?
What's that?
Is several people, I'd run into people, post office, different places.
Right.
Oh, Helen, what do you do? After the race, right?
Right.
Oh, Helen, I haven't seen you in a while. What are you up to now? Oh, I am teaching and I'm selling insurance. And the expression on their face, oh, like I'd had a demotion or something.
Right.
And what they failed to realize was when I ran for mayor, it was for the people.
Right.
I was the people's candidate.
Yes.
That's the way I am now. I've always wanted to help people. So here I am teaching, helping students, and selling legacy and love, and hiring agents to do the same. I'm like, I feel like I died to go into heaven, but they're looking at me like, oh, whoa, that's what you're doing now, Helen. I'm like, they just don't get it.
No.
They didn't get it.
Was that hard to juggle, though, to do the teaching and then doing insurance?
No, because I've always been very good with time management.
Right.
What became painfully clear is that my income from my life insurance business was far exceeding what I was doing teaching.
I got you.
But then also during that period, I pursued my Master's of Arts in English.
Okay.
So that was after I had started teaching. So that was an 18-month program that was very intense, and I really wasn't doing that much with the insurance at that time, just enough to, stay on the books.
Right.
But I got my Master's of Arts in English from Southern New Hampshire University in May of 2017. And at that point is when I told Lewis, I said, okay, now I want to focus on my business and take it to another level. And I haven't looked back since.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing. I know that we had you on the cover of The Scoop in the past year.
My birthday month, too. My
was
birthday's
it?
in May. Oh, wow. That was like the coolest thing because let me tell you, Thomas, in about a year prior to that, I had only told one fellow agent, I said, I want to be in the year 2019 on the cover of Scoop.
Wow.
I hadn't told anybody else. Lewis, when he called me that day and said, Helen, I just want to let you know you're going to be on the cover. And I had to pull over. I was like, what? I was headed to Barnwell to work some leads early that morning, and he called me, and I said, I got to pull over. What did you just say? Yeah, so that was an honor. It really was. I mean, just like now. I mean, this is so cool.
What my favorite part about that is you wrote your own article.
Oh gosh, now you get to tell the world, right?
We always ask like for notes and like little tidbits and do interviews, and you're really just like here it is.
Well, you keep in mind now I haven't.
I totally get it. I totally get it. It was written way better than it would have been had we done it, but still, like that was pretty funny.
Oh, and then what? Part of me was like, I hope I'm not insulting anybody by doing this, but
no, not at all.
There's certain things sometimes because I know how things can be twisted, not necessarily on purpose.
If anybody
so if
knows
it's going to
that,
be right,
right,
I want it to come from my words and whatever you needed to do to tweak. And so, that was, I didn't, see, now everybody knows.
Well, a lot of times when we try to get interviews, there can be a degree of difficulty because, agents are in the field, they're on the phone, they're selling, they're very occupied with recruiting, which is very important.
Right.
At the same time, we do want to tell their stories and promote that part of it, and that's where marketing comes in. So it actually was a tremendous help for us.
Right.
And
all right.
For everybody watching this, I do encourage, submit stuff. It helps us out a great deal.
Yeah. From a time perspective, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Now, you were a military brat, is that right?
I am a military brat. My dad served 20 years in the Air Force.
That's awesome.
And my early years was spent living overseas. I was born in Hampton, Virginia, and then from there we moved to Bremerhaven, Germany, and then from there we moved to Brindisi, Italy. We lived there for 4 years. We lived in Germany for 3 years.
Right.
We lived in Key West, Florida for about 3 years. My brother and sister were born, and then from there we moved to Okinawa, Japan, we lived there for 5 years.
Wow.
And the last place that my dad had his tour was in San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, wow.
And so April of 1975 is when he retired.
Well,
and then we moved home, where home is Hepzibah, Georgia, where my parents were born and raised.
So I was going to ask how you wound up in the Augusta area.
That's right.
But
yes,
that
that's
right
home.
there.
That's where my, on both sides of the family, that's where my family's roots are.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, definitely thanks for his service. I mean, 20 years is definitely amazing. Was that hard growing up, like going to schools, high schools, middle schools, all over the world?
No, it wasn't, because we didn't know anything different.
Oh, well,
So every 2 to 5 years, we're in a different place. We have to make brand new friends.
Right.
I had a lot of pen pals along the way, but after a while, the pen pals, they kind of peter off.
Yeah.
You make new friends, and that's probably, I think, why my personality is the way it is, because when you're a military brat, you have to adjust.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to learn diverse groups of people and be respectful and understanding and compassionate, because everybody is different. And so I grew up in that environment and culture, and I think that has served me well, especially for what I'm doing now.
Absolutely. That's I did hear whenever we did a little research and everything that your brother, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, he was in the CIA.
Yeah, well, we can say it now that he is officially retired.
Right.
But yes, my brother, as a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, what is today, Thursday.
Today's Thursday.
2 weeks ago yesterday, my mom and I took a road trip to McLean, Virginia to see the retirement and award ceremony for my brother, Daryl, who spent 28 years in the CIA.
Wow.
And so we were at the CIA headquarters for this event. And you want to talk about a surreal experience, Thomas. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes, and he served well.
That's
then
awesome.
prior to that, he was in the Air Force. He followed my father's footsteps.
Okay.
Because my dad was in intelligence. So both of my brothers went in the Air Force in intelligence.
Oh, wow.
And so my brother decided, you know what, I want to go a little bit deeper with intelligence.
Right.
And he chose to go.
Central of
That's
intelligence.
right. Exactly. So yeah, that's recent. And now he's living in L.A., Santa Monica, and loving it. Absolutely loving it.
That's wonderful. And you have a lot of nieces and nephews, is what I was told. Well, that's actually, I believe you mentioned that whenever you spoke at one of our events previously.
Yes, those are my babies. I have 9 nieces and nephews, and 11 great nieces and great nephews.
Wow.
Yes, yeah, and they're scattered. I mean, from Augusta to Seattle, Washington, Chicago, Atlanta, and Tampa, Florida.
I got you. And then also, whenever you spoke last time, you actually spoke about your sister a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that something you'd be willing to mention? Like,
yeah.
Because that was kind of a tough time for you as well. And that wasn't too long ago, right?
No.
Yeah.
That was January.
Okay.
Wow. Sometimes when I talk about my sister, I can just talk about her, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then just now it was like, bam. January 23rd. She was only 53.
Right.
My only sister.
Right.
My best friend and my great niece found her home deceased.
Right.
And she had been there all day.
Right.
And she was sitting in the chair next to her bed as if she was sleeping. But she wasn't.
Right.
So, yeah, that was a tough day.
Yeah.
That was a tough day. And what was so special was, of course, she had legacy.
Yes. That's where I was
And,
gonna
man,
go. Yeah.
our legacy.
Yeah.
You know, just love every one of them. They were so compassionate, so, you know, it was good.
Who wound
A
up
beautiful casket.
Yeah.
But what's so interesting, when we as agents are out in the field
Yeah.
and we're sitting in the client's house making an award-winning presentation, we talk about these things, but if you haven't had that firsthand experience of how they really do interact with the families.
Yes.
So when I'm talking, I can give real life experience. Now, of course, that was the fourth time because I had three clients that also had passed away over the years.
Right.
And I saw, and what I tell people is that it wasn't because I'm an agent that they were so kind. They do that with everybody.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, January. And what's so interesting too, Thomas, is that was my best month in AP.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because she passed away on the 23rd.
Yeah.
And so prior to the 23rd, I had like 13, almost 14,000 in annual premium. And that was my largest month. Now, keep in mind, January was the first month that I went full time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I had prayed all of 2018.
Yeah.
That, you know what, God, give me some signs to let me know that I need to break off from my contract with Virginia College so that I can do this full time. So January was my very first month.
Wow.
She was my biggest cheerleader.
Right.
When it come to politics, my sister was a bulldog. She was like a armor bearer.
Yeah.
Nobody could get near me.
Right.
And if guys wanted to come and try to holler, they were like, oh, no, what do you want to talk to my sister for? Because she's running for mayor. My sister was no joke.
Right.
And she was, that's the part that I miss a lot because it's like now I don't have anybody to protect me. She protected me, even though she was 6 years younger, but we were very, very close. She was a sweetheart.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you sharing that story. I myself have a similar story with legacy. I don't know if I've ever even talked about it on the podcast before, but last year in May, my grandmother passed away, and I was extremely close to her. I was actually there when she passed away. I was in the hospital with her. I actually held her hand while she passed away.
Wow.
And we weren't sure exactly what we were going to do, and we got with Legacy, and she is now buried in a Legacy casket in Thomas County, Georgia.
Wow.
And Kat was actually the one that helped us, Catherine Connor, and she was a tremendous help. So Legacy is something I really believe in, and it's really awesome, because you're going through those tragedies. And with your job, with being a final expense agent, you're talking about those things.
Right.
But, it's a little bit different whenever you see it firsthand. But it makes it that much more special to the policyholders because they know that you've been through the thing that you're actually talking about.
Absolutely. And if we could talk about Legacy just for a moment,
Absolutely.
I definitely, from Kat all the way down, everybody, they are just, and I know there's some new faces there, so I don't know them by name, but I already know that they are awesome, exemplary, because I've experienced it now 4 times, including my sister.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I didn't realize that.
Yes. Now, the one I want to mention is a woman who had bought a policy on her father, who was in an assisted living facility. He passed away on the day before Memorial Day 2018. Okay, she called me and told me that her father had passed away, and then I sent her what I normally do because I have Kat's text her number, so I text her, letting her know to expect a phone call, et cetera, and because the offices of Senior Life was open on Memorial Day, so she was able to get the business going, and she ended up calling. My client had actually called the funeral home because he died in Thompson, Georgia, but he wanted to be funeralized in Sparta, Georgia.
Okay.
Now that's like an hour and a half drive. Okay, he wanted to have 2 services. He wanted to have a brief service in Thompson because he knew the people from Thompson wouldn't drive to Sparta, and vice versa. But he wanted to be buried in Sparta at his church, which was a small country church, and the graveyard in the backyard. Well, she had called the funeral home and had gotten a quote for like $10,000, right? And so by the time she got with Legacy and the young lady, which I can't think of her name right this second, I'm so sorry, but she did the negotiating and got it down to $6,060.
Wow.
$4,000 savings.
Yes.
It gets even better, Thomas.
Yeah.
I went to her father's funeral. It was on a Saturday.
Right.
Sitting there in the pew, waiting for the people to come in, and was looking at the funeral program, and I'm reading under acknowledgments, and she's got my name in that funeral program. I want a special thanks to Helen Blocker Adams, a senior life insurance representative.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was like, wow,
That's
oh my goodness, that was big.
Yeah.
So now I have it laminated, and I've even given a copy to several agents on my team, because when I'm sitting there with the client, I show that to them to let them know this is someone who was a client who was so appreciative that she put my name in the program. So, and saving them $4,000. So that was pretty phenomenal.
Yes,
yeah,
that is very special.
Absolutely.
That was kind of switching gears a little bit. So you've been hiring agents yourself, correct?
Yes, sir.
You've been growing your agency.
Oh, yes.
So what does the growth of your own agency mean to you?
My goodness, it has been amazing. When we think of, we always talk about, okay, follow the system. We have a system, and there's systems in place for us to recruit, to hire, to sell the policies, to meet people, the materials that you all put out, and the websites that we've created. But last year this time, I think Adams Group probably had maybe 10 agents, and we were just going in terms of my mindset of, okay, I want to build an agency. Yeah. Because that wasn't my original intent when I first came on board. I was just going to sell insurance. And I was going to sell final expense primarily to my warm market until Lewis tapped me on the shoulder one day and say, Helen, okay, you need to get leads. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to work my warm market. And because I have a large warm market. He says, Helen, do you trust me? And I said, yes, I trust you. I got leads, and I've been on leads ever since. Wow. Now, this was about a year and a half ago now. So about a year or so ago, 10, 11 agents, and now it's probably 60, 61 agents. And I mean, we have hired like 9 this month on our team. It's unbelievable. My largest group is in Houston, Texas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Houston, Texas, by one. And that's what Lewis always tells us. One person can transform your whole organization.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. That one person that I recruited via a comment on Facebook.
A Facebook comment.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
Her name is Penny. And she recruited others and so forth. And now this organization is just, our agency is growing. Matter of fact, we went from 21 last month on the leaderboard to number 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
excited about that.
You know, a lot of people, they come in, they want to be just personal producers. That's all. That's their main focus.
Yeah.
And you had a similar idea in the beginning.
I did.
So what would you tell to somebody now who was still kind of adamant about just being a personal producer? What would you tell them?
I would tell them, think about the fact that you might not be able to get up one morning and go out in the field.
Right.
You might be sick for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Right.
Unless you've been stacking money over a period of time, you got to keep making your own money.
Right.
So I think what happened with me when I started getting the override over just a couple of agents.
Yeah.
And then I started doing the math. I said, now that's $20-something, $30-something. And I said, that was just one day, one policy.
Right.
What if I had 10
Right.
to do the same thing in the same day? I started doing the math, and it was a wrap from then. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is what Lewis keeps talking about.
Yeah.
Now, I've always loved working with people, okay? So this business gives me the opportunity to coach and mentor and empower agents.
Yeah.
Teach them to do the same thing that I'm doing so that they can change what's going on in their lives.
Yeah.
And so if I can do it, then I want to teach someone else who can teach someone else. You know, that old saying, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day.
Yeah.
Teach him how to fish, and he'll eat for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's what the concept that I work under now. So it's really exciting. Yes, the override checks are nice, but what to me is exciting is when one agent hires another and then teaches them and then uses the system and then so on and so on. It's like, oh my gosh, and now we're at 60 plus. And there's no ending in sight.
Right.
Because besides me, it's not like I'm personally recruiting all these people. So you've got Joe or Jane or Jill over here. They're working their businesses.
Right.
So outside of me, and that's the beauty of this, is that a person can come in, learn the business. Yeah, you may want to be an independent producer, but after a while, when you start looking around and thinking about, okay, you know what, I don't want to always be paid off of my own efforts.
Right.
You know, I want to create a retirement income. I'm 60 years old now, so I want to be able to set back several years from now and watch those monies flowing in, but still go out and teach and hire and train and do that until I'm not able to walk anymore.
One thing we always talk about, like, what's the ideal recruit? Do you have an ideal recruit? A lot of people think before they start recruiting, if they're a personal producer, before they start recruiting, they think that they're supposed to look for something specific. What do you look for?
Personality, the way they treat people, if they're compassionate, empathetic, they have a good spirit about them.
Right.
And I watch people. You know, I watch them whether I'm sitting in a restaurant or at a bank or any place. I'm just watching how they handle people. Right. Because we're in the people business. Yeah. And we're talking about something that's very delicate that most people don't want to talk about.
Yeah, that's very true.
So you can't be just some hardcore type person. You've got to be someone that's got a little bit of heart, in my mind. Okay. And so that's what I look for. And they come in all shapes and sizes. You know, it doesn't matter from that perspective. Right. But yeah, compassion, good spirit, and we got to be able, I think would I like to have or invite that person to my home for dinner?
Right.
If the answer is no, nah, that's not a fit for
you.
my group.
Right.
Yeah. The spirits have got to connect, and I usually can catch that pretty instant.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we were talking. You mentioned Lewis a few times already. He is something I really love and respect about him is, you know where you stand with him.
Right.
He is a very straightforward kind of person. A lot of people will spend a lot of time trying to figure out how they're going to tell you something, or but he is just very straight and to the point.
Right.
He was that way when he encouraged you to get leads. How is Lewis as your final expense mentor, as your RVP, as your leader? How is he for you?
He is. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Now, granted, yes, he is kind of straight and no chaser.
Yes.
Okay. But that's what's helped build me as an individual and as a final expense specialist. And he makes it very clear that that's what we are, final expense specialists. He has taught me about being focused and not letting the distractions, even though sometimes I do, my distractions are those nieces and nephews and great nieces, and everybody knows it, and he knows it, but he's very patient. But every now and then he'll say, okay, Helen, you know what you need to do, and I already know. Yeah. But he is I would not be where I am, not only in this business, but he helped me. And he doesn't even know it, kind of indirectly, even through that dark time when after the mayor's race.
Right.
Now, he even came to a couple of my fundraiser events after I met him in January.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he came from Columbia to several of my political events. But just afterwards, just in terms of he was very compassionate and concerned, but at the same time, okay, Helen, you ready to go ahead and get your license?
Right.
So yeah, he is just amazing in so many ways. And I do have to sometimes, because he comes across in a way that people may not take him right. And so I always have to let some of my folks know that's on my team. It's like, so I was like, he's got the biggest heart on the planet.
Right.
And now the other part, not to get real sensitive, he came to my sister's funeral.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even know he was coming.
Wow.
And I cried like a baby when I saw him. I was like, oh my gosh, he came.
Wow.
Yeah, that meant a lot.
So personally and professionally, he's been there for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Since January 2014.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why I'm not going anywhere. I mean, between Lewis Consolidated Planning and Senior Life Insurance Company,
Right.
I don't need to go anywhere else. This is it.
This is all you need.
This is all I need, yes.
Now, with growing your agency to what you have, how has his influence and guidance helped you be a better leader? Because you've talked about how he's gotten you as a better producer. How did he help you become a better leader?
Oh, and I'm still got a long ways to go because I'm still not as tough as him.
Right.
Okay, I'm one of the nurturers, and I don't want to push too hard, but I'm learning with people, if you don't push them, you've got to know everybody can be pushed a certain way.
Right.
Some of them you have to be a little bit softer with, but the others you can crack the whip.
Right.
But he has taught me how to be a little bit firmer, to just, and not in a mean way. I don't curse, so that won't be an issue. Right. But just from the standpoint of being more firm and direct and being that coach to help my agents get to the next level and not just take anything they say at face value, to be a little bit more direct. So I'm constantly watching him and paying attention. And every now and then I'll try to use some of those techniques and they work. But Absolutely. I think the part about me being a little bit more direct and firm, and not being just, Miss Nice, but I want to build a huge agency like his.
Yes.
And sometimes you can't do it by being the nice guy all the time,
That's very true. That's very, very true.
Yeah. Not that I'm going to be mean, but like nice, nasty kind of be, so that I can get my point across. Yeah, balance for me. And so far, I've got a great team. I just love on them. I love on them, and I believe when you do that, and now all of them aren't on the same level, as you well know, but the one that hasn't written a policy to the one that's written 9 or 10,000 9 or 10,000 in a week, I love on them the same way.
Absolutely.
And because at some point, something's going to click. As long as they stay engaged, that they're going to get to the level that they need to be. And I always tell them, I'm here. I'm here for you. I make myself available for my team. I don't care when they text me. I'm there for them, and they know that.
Absolutely. So just talking about everything, talking about growing your agency, everything that you're doing. What does the future hold for you and your agency with Senior Life Insurance Company?
Oh my goodness, I want to be able to hire and train and mentor and coach and empower hundreds of people all over the United States.
Yeah.
Right now, I have 60, 61, or 62 agents in 7 states.
Oh, wow.
I would like to be have somebody in every state of the United States.
Absolutely.
That's because if I can help impact somebody's life, now I'm helping their family, helping change the trajectory of their life, then, it's like, man, God, that's what he has me here on the planet to do. So that's where I see, I don't really have a dollar figure.
Right.
I just figure if I can help enough people
Right.
to achieve their dreams
Right.
By any means necessary through all the tools that we have
Right.
and the fun that we have in this business, then that's what I want to do.
Awesome.
And be in this business until I'm not able to talk anymore,
Right.
or use my fingers to be able to write to say what I'm saying,
Right.
or walk. Yeah, this is it for me.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think that's a true testament of who you are as a human being. I think any good person, any humble person realizes that we're actually servants for other people.
Yes,
and
yes.
so to view that it's not about the money or anything like that, as much as it is about helping other people,
Absolutely.
is very amazing. Anytime we do the podcast, before we wrap everything up, I always want to give the guests a chance to say anything. If we missed something, if there's something you want to mention or anything like that before we conclude today.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. I want to thank Sharaka for recommending me to Aileen to be a part of this. I've watched every podcast, okay, and I love them.
Yes.
I love them getting the chance to see all of the different faces of Senior Life Insurance Company, and I want to thank the Senior Life Insurance Company
Yes.
for this opportunity, because this is my first time ever in the final expense industry.
Right.
Now, what I didn't say earlier was that my very first job, you're not going to believe this, Thomas, when we moved to Augusta, Georgia, when my dad retired in April of 1975, I was in the last 6 week of my 10th grade year. So when I became a junior, I started working as a telephone canvasser at Mount Olive Memorial Gardens, which is located right down the street from my parents' house.
Right.
Okay, and I would call people in the evenings. I would get out of school, come there, and call and schedule appointments for the salesman to go and sell pre-planned cemetery plots. This was in 1976.
Wow.
And my mother told me then, oh my gosh, anybody that can sell cemetery plots can sell anything. Now here I am, 50-something years later.
Almost full circle, yeah.
Almost full circle in final expense. Never thought about it,
Wow.
but just the idea, Senior Life Insurance Company, I just admire the founders. I admire Ron.
Yes.
Every time I see him, and the way he's fighting, those videos, the way they show how he's really just fighting to walk again.
Yeah.
It's just a testament to the integrity and the strength of this company. And I like being a part of that. I like being a part of something that's real and authentic.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for Lewis and Consolidated Planning, and just the idea of being able to touch more lives, not only as hiring agents, but all of the families out there that need legacy and love.
Yes.
With me and my team, if we can be able to tap into as many of them as we can all across the United States, then that's what I want to be able to do. And I'm just honored to be a part of this whole movement, if you will.
Absolutely. Well, we are definitely honored that you took time with us today.
Thank you.
I already thought you were an amazing person before you even sat down in here, and just to hear your trials and tribulations and your journey actually just shows how even more amazing that you are than I actually knew. So it's definitely been an honor today.
Thank you,
I really
Thomas.
appreciate you and all that you do.
I appreciate you too. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And Kent and Don as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming today. And like we say at the end of every single podcast, it's Senior Life, all your life.